Good day, subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Jeremy. This is the Financial Education Channel, and today we're talking about Warren Buffett and the Cnbc interview that happened yesterday. He talked for 3 hours. I watch it every single year. This is the 10th year they've done it. He usually does about 2 guest appearances per year. One, he talks for maybe about an hour, they interview him, maybe an hour and a half. And the other one, which is the main one that happened yesterday, they always do like right after his, investment letter comes out. And he talks for like 3 hours. I watched every single minute of this, guys. And basically, I'm going to take you through the 7 biggest things that came out of his mouth. And I think it's extremely important to pay attention to what he says about whatever he's talking about, because 1, we got to acknowledge that he's the most successful investor of all time. 2, we got to acknowledge that he's like my investing god I look up to. And 3, we must acknowledge that he's got insight into so many different businesses from all over the world. And I mean, Berkshire Hathaway owns dozens and dozens of businesses, guys, directly, and they also own stock in dozens and dozens of businesses. So this is a guy that has an insight to literally the entire world, literally the entire economy, guys. So that's why I pay so much close attention. That's why I watch a 3-hour interview with him. That's why it's worth it for me to even do this video to you guys, to tell you the 7 biggest things that came out of it. So let's get into this, guys. I hope you enjoy it. Hit a thumbs up if you do. So 1, the first biggest thing they talked about was the stock market. Are we in a bubble right now? Is it getting bubblicious? And his answer was no, we're definitely not in a bubble. That's the same thing I preach. And he also preached the same thing I've been preaching, which is we're fairly valued right now. Are we undervalued? Absolutely not. Are we in a bubble? Absolutely not. We're somewhere in between right now. We're in a fair value market right now as far as the stock market goes. Stock market valuations, guys. It's exactly what I tell you guys. It's exactly how I feel personally the market is right now. They also asked him about the overall economy. He said it's decent. It's nothing amazing, but at the same time, it's nothing bad. It's just a decent economy right now. We're growing 1 to 2%. And, you know, he preached like he usually does about if we can just grow 2% GDP for the next generation, that's $19,000 per capita income, you know, for everybody else. So that's a massive amount more money, guys. So, and he talked about pro-USA and why the United States system works and how nobody can really duplicate it, and all the type of things he usually talks about, those kind of regular things. The second biggest thing is that he and his company have bought over $20 billion worth of stocks since around the election time. So since, you know, Trump got elected around then, he's bought over $20 billion. So this is why I preach to you guys. Don't mix your investing with money. And he actually preached that in the video. He mentioned something very similar to that, just in a different word choice or whatever. Don't mix, a political feeling, because remember, he was a proponent for Hillary Clinton. He was absolutely, totally for Hillary Clinton. He even did a speech or maybe multiple speeches for Hillary Clinton, guys. And then who's elected? Donald Trump. And he even said not some nasty things necessarily about Trump, but he was definitely, against Trump and definitely for Hillary. But he doesn't let that cloud his judgment in making an investment and making money, guys. So he's put over $20 billion to work in stocks. I mean, that's just a ridiculous number out there, guys. $20 billion. And they still have over $80 billion in cash to actually invest if they want to. So he's put a massive amount of money to work. He's not scared about the economy at all right now. And plus, he has a philosophy, kind of like I do, which is invest no matter what. There's always going to be things out there to scare you. There's always going to be the doomsday sayers. There's always going to be the people saying, oh, well, this is, and it happened for generations and generations and generations, guys. There's always going to be those people. And what happens? We move along, we move along. Do we have a hiccup every once in a while? Yes, we do. We have a recession here and there. We have a, stock market crash every once in a while. These things happen. But over the long term, the United States of America and most countries worldwide that are developed, they're going to truck along just fine, guys. Number 3, the biggest thing, Apple. They have bought $133 million worth of shares. If you want to know what type of dollar amount that is, times 133 million times whatever Apple stock price is right now, $136, $137 a share. absolutely insane. They have made a monstrous investment over the last few months. Now, he also said he's not buying any more Apple. He didn't say he was selling Apple. He actually said he wasn't selling Apple. He's just not buying any more. And I can understand that. Sometimes I get in a stock and it goes up a certain amount, and then I'm just like, okay, I'm good. Like, I'm just holding my shares at this point, or holding my options contracts, whatever I bought into. So that's what he's doing with Apple. And they asked him, why Apple? Why Apple now? Because he's never really invested in many tech companies, especially not a company like Apple. They've asked him in the past, I've been watching these interviews since I started investing 9-10 years ago or whatever. And, he's always said, oh, I don't quite understand Apple's business model quite good enough. Well, now he all of a sudden does. And now he views Apple as not just like a tech company, but a consumer products company that has a recurring revenue stream from things like services, things like people just, if they have an iPhone now, they're just going to get another iPhone and another iPhone in a few more years and things like that. So he views it as a consumer products company, which in my opinion kind of is correct in Apple, It doesn't mean they can't lose some market share here and there, but for the most part, they're a consumer products company. It's not really so much about tech for them anymore at this point. It's about just keeping the customers they have, and not necessarily, they don't have to really expand. They can expand in new markets and some of those kinds of things, guys. His philosophy on Apple also was that earnings were just okay, which is exactly what I said about Apple's earnings. Apple's earnings, they beat, yes, but they wasn't like some kind of great beat that the stock was flying up like it did, which it did. So, that was his opinion on it, and that's kind of my opinion on Apple's earnings. Were they okay? Absolutely. Did they meet expectations? Absolutely. Were they outstanding? Absolutely not. So that's his view on Apple, and that's exactly my view on Apple. So we'll have to see what happens there, but I can guarantee you he's helped push up that Apple stock price, because you can't just buy 133 million shares and take those off the market. And now that he's holding those shares, now there's a lot less shares on the market to even buy, guys. And mind you, Apple right now is doing a huge share buyback. So you got Apple buying all these shares, you have Buffett buying all these shares. A ton of shares came off the market for Apple, which means the price that other people have to pay is generally going to be higher because there's less shares to buy at this point for newer investors who want to get in, guys. So you can see some things there. 4, he kept preaching this book called Common Stocks, Uncommon Profits. He kept preaching this book, and it's a book I haven't really heard him preach that much. I'm going to leave the link in the description. I'll also leave the link in the comments section if you guys even want to buy that book. He praised this book so much, and he's like, if I had one book, he's always preached the Ben Graham book, which is the Intelligent Investor, which is my favorite investing book. But he preached this book called Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits by Phil Fisher. He preached it, he brought it up at least 3 or 4 times in the interview. It was insane. And it's a book that was written back in the 60s or 70s, but he thinks it's the golden book, all of a sudden. So I'm going to leave that in the description in case you guys want to check it out or look into it or whatnot, just in case. But he mentioned it several times. It was strange. Number 5, he's been buying the airlines like crazy. He owns, I think, 3 or 4 airlines right now, and almost all those positions are between a 5 and 9% stake in those airlines. He's been buying the airlines like insane, guys. And they asked him about that because he lost a ton of money on the airline stocks back in the 80s. So they kind of pushed him on that. And without directly saying it, but, he kind of, alluded to the fact that there's just a few bigger airlines now. Fuel costs are down and things like that. And future, the way he kind of views it is he looks at future orders for new planes. And there's not a robust bunch of new planes that are supposed to be coming online in the next few years, which means some safety to them, which means the chances that ticket prices would come down drastically. Probably not that much, as long as the planes don't get overloaded, or not overloaded, but underloaded, we should say. And there's too many planes they're trying to fill up, guys. So it would make the competitive landscape too scary out there, guys. So that's his view on the airlines. He's been buying them like crazy. Number 6. He sold the majority of his Walmart because of Amazon. Because of Amazon. He said retail's too hard for him to figure out right now. And he's not buying Amazon currently. They kind of pushed him on that. Why are you not buying Amazon? He just, kind of was like, basically I know why he's not buying Amazon, because it's trading at 100 and something PE. I can understand why he's not buying Amazon right now. But that's why he sold his Walmart, which is, once again, another philosophy that I have, that Amazon's just killing the competition right now. And it's hard to find good retailers out there. They're few and far between right now. There's never been this type of dominance coming into the retail landscape that Amazon's kind of showing right now, guys. Walmart absolutely in their day had their moment where they came in and really tore some stuff up, but I don't think it was anything compared to what Amazon's doing to retail right now, guys. So that's why he's fearful of retail. That's why he's not really touching anything retail related, because he's just like, it's hard to see like the vision for anything maybe other than Amazon. But he doesn't want to buy Amazon because the same reason I don't, because it's at a ridiculously high PE, guys. And the last thing they talked about was they talked a good deal about, for at least, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes, about his philosophy on how so many people waste money on investment advice. Waste money on investment advice, from investment advisors, people that they have, running their money, things like that, trying to pick out a good investment manager, those kinds of things, how they take their 2 and 20%. A lot of these investment managers, they take 2% of whatever you had in your account that year, regardless of whether it went up or down. And then they take 20% of all profits, guys. 20% of all profits. So there's a massive amount of guys and gals out there doing that. And he's like, these people, 90+% of them are not even getting the same return on the market. So basically what he was kind of preaching is, if you're not, which is exactly what I preach, once again, we're like on the same wavelength. If you're not really diehard investor, just invest in index funds. If you're not really into it, if you don't have the personality to do it, if you don't have the work ethic to do it and whatnot to be a successful investor, then just invest in index funds. You don't need to necessarily go and have your money managed by some fancy investment manager or something like that, because it's a good chance they're not going to even be able to beat the market. And then they're going to, when they're able to beat the market, they're going to take 20% of the profits, a lot of these guys and gals, guys. So he was preaching that, which is pretty much the same thing I preach, guys. So we're on the same wavelength a lot, and that's just another reason why I love listening to him, because, like I said, we're on the same wavelength. So those were the 7 biggest subjects I took out of his whole 3-hour interview, guys. Those are the 7 biggest out there, and I really enjoyed it. You guys should watch it sometime, unless you're not into that kind of thing, which I can understand. He's like 86 years old. Maybe he's not the most exciting guy in the world, so whatever. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Later today, I got the 3 stocks I'm buying video coming out in prime time, guys. I hope you enjoy that. And should I release a little secret now? A stock got kicked out of the 3 stocks I'm buying. 1 stock got kicked out. We got new one incomer coming in. I shouldn't even release that secret. Maybe I'll edit this out in post-production. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a great day.